Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Raeann, but you can call me Ray. Today's video is going to be on these two palettes right here. So if you haven't seen or heard about these babies, these are two new palettes from Ace. So I've actually done, I think, one or two videos on their palettes before, but I love their palettes and their color stories of their palettes are just so pretty. Overall, like, the quality is just so good for the money. Like, they are kind of like mid-price. They're not like high-end price, but they're not, well, they're closer to like high-end price, but still I feel like the quality is just like, it's worth it, you know? They came out with two palettes recently. These are a little bit smaller than their normal palettes, at least the ones that I have. So I have the Flare palette and the Oceanic palette. These two, so this one is the Scarlet Dusk palette, and these two both have 12 shades in here. The other palettes that I have of theirs have, I believe, 15 shades, so they're a little bit smaller. This is the inside of the palette, so this is what it looks like. Very, like, berry pink tone, which super pretty. And then you got a little bit of like orangey tones going in here too, which is nice. But this is what this one looks like. So just get you a little closer. Then both palettes look pretty much the same on the outside, and then have a little mirror, and then the beautiful, amazing, oh my god, like, look at this. Okay. So anyways, the other palette is the Vintage Dawn palette, so it's the same size as the other one, and so they both have 12 shades in here. If this isn't a Raeann palette, I don't know what is. Like, Raeann palette right here, 100%. Look at this palette. Amazing. So they both have 12 shades in here, and they retail for $34.99. The other palettes that I have of theirs have 15 shades in them. They retail for $38.99. But yeah, these are little baby palettes. They're so cute. I mean, should I get another? I don't want to get up and get one of the palettes, but anyways, these are the two new palettes. I'm stumbling on my words like always. Anyways, these are the two new palettes. I do swatches for each palette, and then I also do one look for each palette, and then I'm gonna just talk about like how I feel about the palette so far. So if you guys want to see how I got this look, want to see the swatches, see the other look, and what I'm thinking so far about these palettes, how I'm feeling so far about these palettes, then go ahead and keep on watching. Okay, so this is what the inside of the palette looks like. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the swatches. Before I do, I'm just going to show you guys, look at how beautiful this looks. Like, I always feel so sad to like start swatching it because it's never gonna look this clean and beautiful ever again, ever. This palette is just really, really pretty. It's got your like orangey shades and a lot of berry tones, which are really nice. So let's go ahead and swatch this out. I'm trying to think of how I want to swatch this. So last time I did swatches, I didn't say the names, and I know I didn't say the names, and I know that some people do like having the shade names on there, so I don't know if I want to say them. And then of course we're gonna start left to right and then go to row. Okay, so the first shade is Sunset Rose. The next shade is Crimson. Alright, that actually swatched out really pretty. Alright, the next shade is Shade. Then we have Nocturnal. That one swatched out a little patchy, but it is a darker matte shade. That's pretty normal. The next shade is Aruba. These shadows feel a little bit differently than I remember their shadows feeling, but this is a shimmer. Ooh, look at that. Okay, that's really pretty. Alright, and then Hibiscus. These shimmers are swatching out super pretty though. Okay, and Lotus. Try to do that again, but tried to build it up a little bit, but just an awkward placement on my arm, so. And then Bahamas. And then we have Maui. That one's really pretty too. Pink Moon. There we go. Oh, it's really pretty. And this is Aurora. now that we've met my elbow again. And the last shade in the palette, Sangria. Okay, so, ooh, these all swatched out really pretty. Like, some of the mattes are a little patchy, but overall, I think they swatched out pretty nice. Everything was pretty easy to swatch. The mattes were a little patchy, but for the most part, they don't look too bad. The shimmers were really, really easy. The one Aruba shade seems to be, I don't know, it just seems like it's a little, maybe I just put more on there, but it looked a little flaky, if that makes sense. Not as smooth as some of the other shimmers. It just seemed like it has a lot of pigment in it. That could have been the way I swatched it too. So yeah, the mattes are a little bit splotchy, but overall not too bad. The darker ones are probably the ones that are a little more splotchy than the rest, which is totally normal, to be honest. I really do need to work on my swatches. I'm getting better. I wasn't doing them for the longest time. And I don't know, I know people like seeing swatches, so I started doing them again, and then I just need to control where they're going on my arm. Okay, and of course we're getting a little bit of staining, but not anything that I wasn't already expecting, you know? Honestly, would probably be more surprised if I wasn't getting staining versus actually like getting it, you know? So I'm gonna go ahead and start one of the eyes, and then I will come back, show you guys what we're working with and how to do it. Okay, so this is how things are going. I don't know if this is going to spoil anything, and we'll definitely talk about it more. I'm not happy with the shimmer shades so far. We'll talk about it. Trust me, we'll talk about it. Overall, I don't think this looks bad by any means. I'm not happy with the shimmer shades. At least the ones that I've used so far. Yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the look, and then we'll talk about everything. I mean, this is just like a first impression, so of course, opinions can definitely change. I was thinking of doing 2 looks for each palette after this original video, so if you guys do want to see that, just let me know. Pretty much where we're going anyways, but now I'm a little hesitant. Anyways, so the first shade we're going to go into is a Sangria shade, and as I was using it, I was like, that's literally like the perfect name. Like, it's the perfect name for this like shadow. But yeah, it's literally the perfect name. I feel like it's just, the shade is just really pretty. Like, if I was better at doing like a full like smoked out, you know, I could try to do it anyways, like a full smoked out eye with like matte shades. That shade would be beautiful. Like, beautiful. So anyways, we're going to start with that shade. And since we are doing a cut crease, we're just really going to build this shadow up. I'm probably going to stop filming it at some point like usual, just because there's a lot of building up that happens and that can be repetitive. So a lot of the times I start with a bigger, fluffier brush, and then I go in with a different one to pack more color on. This is kind of my way of getting the edges to be really, really soft. And then I'll go in with a more dense brush and then concentrate it where we need more depth. But this is a really easy way of getting the color distributed all over the eye, or a good chunk of the eye really. And then going in and blending it out, and then packing on the color where we need it. I just feel like it's a little bit smoother to do it that way. So from there, I'm gonna go into this Bahamas shade, so the shade that's right above it, so this one right here. And really just try to diffuse the edges a little bit. But I also still want a lot of pigment in that darker shade, so we're gonna go back into Sangria. I'm gonna take like a denser brush and really pack it on. I think I'm just gonna stop filming that part, and then I'm gonna cut out my crease, and then I'll show you guys what I do from there, just because there's a lot of time that goes into that, at least for me. So basically what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna really concentrate the color in this area here and also kind of on the outer part, but really just concentrate it, make it really pigmented, so when I cut my crease out you have a nice like cut, I guess. Is that the right way to say that? I don't know. But really deepen it up. And then I'll also take my slanty brush right here, my favorite brush in the whole entire world, at least for this, and then I really focus the color right where I'm gonna be cutting out the crease. And yeah, so I'll be back and I'll have concealer all over my eye. Okay, so this is what we have right now. I'm going to try a different approach than what I did on the other eye to see if that'll help at all. So normally I do a little bit of glitter glue and then sometimes even wet the brush before I start applying the shimmer shades. But last time I felt like the shimmer shades were almost impossible to build up. It felt like it took way too long, which I have other Ace palettes and I really don't feel like any of them were like that, so that's a little strange to me. And then also I feel like, especially with the orangey shade, it looks really textured on my eye and it almost looks like it's separating. So if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna use a brush, regular brush. This one's still a little damp from the last time that I used it because I was cleaning it off with like a makeup wipe. So it's not wet or anything, it's just, it got cleaned off, you know? I'm so nervous to do this, you guys. Okay, let's try this. Oh, I don't know. I'm just not having a good time with this stuff. So it just feels like it doesn't want to work. Like, I don't know any other way to describe that, but it's like picking up texture on my eye really bad. Yeah, it looks like it's separating. Like I'm putting it on my eye and it just looks like it's separating. I don't know if it just isn't meshing well with the concealer. I mean, I don't know. Ugh, this is really difficult. Okay, so I'm gonna stop applying this shade on camera. I'm gonna jump into the next step and then I'm gonna kind of finish and try to work on it a little bit more off camera because it's just not looking that great. I mean, like from far away this looks fine. I don't know. Let me see. So I don't know how well you guys can see it. It just looks like the shade just is like, it's picking up texture really bad and then it just feels like it's not, it literally looks like it's separating. Like that's the best way that I can describe it. So I don't know, which is a bummer because this shade is really pretty. I want it to work. Okay, so the next shade that I go into is this Aurora shade. So this one right here. And this one was basically the same as the other one. It felt like it was almost impossible to build up. I think it was easier with your finger, but having nails makes it a little more difficult to finger apply, at least for me. So from here, I'm definitely gonna go into the shimmer shades more, but I'm gonna kind of finish off the look like I would normally, and then I'm gonna touch everything up once I start doing the rest of my makeup. So we're just gonna go back into the matte shades we already used. So we're gonna go into Bahamas and kind of blend out where I left off with the concealer, and then from Bahamas go back into Sangria. And then after I finish with the shimmer shades, I go back into Sangria and just kind of like deepen this area in here. And then after that, underneath the eye, we're gonna do Bahamas and then Sangria closer to the lash line. So I'll just do that on camera now. So go into Bahamas. Okay, go into Bahamas. After Bahamas, go into Sangria again. Go into like closer to the lash line to deepen it up. And then once you're getting to the point where you're blending everything out, I go into this Lotus shade, so right in here, and kind of use that as like my final like blending shade. So we'll do the outer part, also put it under the brow bone a little bit. And then for the inner corner highlight, I'm gonna, let's see, I guess I might as well just do it now. So we'll go into this Aurora shade. No, it's Aruba, sorry. Go into Aruba, and from Aruba, just take a bunch of it, pop it in the inner corner. And then a tiny bit under the brow. Okay, so I'm just going to build up the shimmer shades the best that I can. And then from here, I'm just going to finish up my makeup. We'll talk about this palette a little bit and then we'll move on to the other one. Of course, I'm going to put timestamps in here. So if you guys are overhearing about this palette then and you want to watch the other one, then you can just skip to that one. But I might as well just talk about this one and then move on to the other one. That way it's not like intermingled too much. So gonna finish up this look and put on the rest of my makeup, show you guys what it looks like, and we'll talk about the palette a little. Alright, so this is the finished look. I'll get you guys a little bit closer. Overall, I don't think this look looks bad. I'm just gonna kind of dive into how I feel about this palette so far. So I'm trying to keep it short while like fully telling you guys like my thoughts on the palette so far. So basically, like overall I think this looks good. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, that looks good. But like first impressions on how this palette works so far, I had no problems with any of the matte shades. They're all really, really pretty. I'm excited to keep playing with the mattes and use some of the shades that I didn't get to use yet. So no complaints with the mattes. I do have a couple of their other palettes, so the Oceanic palette and the Flare palette, and I thought that all of those, I loved both of those palettes, like shimmers and mattes, so I really had no complaints with those, and I really liked the quality of the palettes. So I was really excited to get these two palettes. The mattes are basically the same as the other palettes. These shimmers, I only use, well, I guess I used 3 of them. The one for the inner corner highlight, that looks really pretty. Of course, I'm not trying to use it to its full capacity yet. Like, I'm not putting it all over my lid. So if I were to do that, I'm not sure how it would, like, if it would look the way that these do or not. I felt with these shimmers, I mean, honestly, even swatched out, like, I just dipping my finger in here, they just don't look that great, which is kind of sad. Like, you know, you want the shimmers to look amazing. Like, these are the other two. This is what they look like swatched out on my fingers, just dipping them in really fast. And again, they don't really look that pigmented. The lighter shades, like the champagne-y shades, look better than the 2 vibrant color ones. But other than that, I mean, nothing crazy. I felt like the swatches when I did on my arm, they all looked really good. So I don't know why they swatch out pretty nicely and then once they're on the lid they just, you know, like what I have now, it felt like it took so long to like build up, and the only thing I could think of is maybe it just is the base that I used. Like maybe they just don't look good with the ColourPop concealer as the base, but I used that and glitter glue and, well, the glitter primer, I always call it glitter glue. I use that and the glitter primer, and I usually use those all the time, and like say for like the ColourPop palettes that I just used in the videos and even the Kesha one, every shimmer shadow that I used with that combination looked great. So I don't know if maybe it is that combination or what. I didn't even use the glitter primer on this eye and I still wasn't really getting anything. Like, it was super hard to build up, and overall, I mean, they just don't look that good. Like, they're, I don't know, it's really weird because I'm just like, am I doing something wrong? What is it? Like, why do they look this way? Especially the orangey one, it felt like it was separating on my lids. So again, like, I don't know if it's the combination or what. When I stopped using the glitter primer, when I didn't do it on this side, it still was doing that. Maybe it wasn't as much. I don't know, and like from here it really doesn't look that bad, but they didn't fully live up to like my expectations, I guess. And you want your shimmer shades to be like bam, you know, like you don't want to have to, I mean, you can build them up, sure, that doesn't really bother me, but it just felt like they were lacking. Like they looked like they were separating on my eyes. They looked like they made texture on my eyes, which like there's a little bit of texture, but really not that much. So it felt like it just did not look good. It looked cakey, and I had to put a lot on to even make it pop. Like the overall look, I feel like it looks good, but the shimmers were just so hard to work with for me that like I would probably use, so far, like off a first impression basis, I would use the mattes in this palette and I would just completely use a different shimmer. Like honestly, I would just go to different palettes, and like I'm looking at these two right here that I just used in all of the videos that I did for them, and it's like I'd probably use the shimmers in these or like a different palette that like I knew were going to be easier to work with than what these were. And that's kind of a bummer. So I'm going to try, if I do film another video with these palettes, which I was thinking of doing 2 looks for each palette on its own. If I do end up doing that, then I'm definitely going to see if there's anything else I could do base wise to make these shadows like pop, you know. But other than that, the shimmers are the only thing that so far I'm just not that into. Everything else, all of the mattes that I used are really pretty, very pigmented. They look like the shades that are in the pan, like they just look really pretty. So, you know, I would still use this palette just for the mattes, and like the mattes are enough to be like, this is a gorgeous palette. But those shimmers, I don't know if there's anything I can do on my end to kind of make them work a little bit better, but so far I wasn't super impressed with those. But so we don't just keep on talking about the same thing over and over again, we're gonna go ahead and get into the other palette. For some reason I don't have it in front of me right now, so I'm gonna go grab the other palette and then just swatch that for you guys, and then we'll get into a look with the Vintage Dawn palette. Okay, so I have the palette now. This is what the inside looks like. Look at how beautiful this color scheme is though. Like I feel like if I were to make a palette, it would look a lot like that. Like it would look so much like this. I love it. I mean, both of them are really pretty, but to be honest, this one 100%, like color scheme wise, beautiful. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the swatches. I do have a little bit of staining on my arm from the other palette, so just bear with me for that one. So the first shade is Sun. Wow, that looks so pretty. The next shade is Daybreak. And then Horizon. The next shade is Gleam. Wow, that's really pretty. That would be super pretty for like a holiday eye, like a berry toned like holiday eye. That'd be really pretty. Okay, so the next shade is Grand Canyon. Definitely thought it was called Grand Slam, and that makes me hungry now. Breakfast food. Hungry for breakfast food. There we go. So the next shade is Golden Hour. Wow, these are looking like stunning, by the way. Like I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do for this eye, and now I'm like, what do I want to do? Like they all look so pretty. All right, so the next shade is Pyramid, and then Fade. I am swatching these out so much better than the other palette. I'm so proud of myself. The next shade is Serengeti. Then we have Cactus. That one didn't swatch out the greatest, but that's alright. And we have Sky. Ooh, that is pigmented. And then the last shade in the palette is Dew. me just try to swatch that out a little bit better. Okay, so that's about it. Let me get you guys a little bit closer. Okay, so this is how everything's swatched out. These shades just look so stunning. Like, I just love the color selection in here because you have a lot of neutral colors. Like, a lot of your, like, brown, bronzy tones and golden tones. And then you have really good pops of color in there as well. It's like a very grungy, like, fall color palette, and I love it. I'm definitely gonna have some staining on my arm. Not anything that I wasn't expecting. Like, I would be totally surprised if there wasn't staining, you know? It's just what comes with swatching. But yeah, some of the mattes seem to be a little bit patchy, but again, that's similar to the other palette, and majority of like any palette ever is gonna have patchiness when you swatch the mattes. At least it's really common, so not really surprised there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the look for this eye. I don't know what I want to do. Like, I have so many different ideas, but I'm like, what one do I want to commit to? Decisions, you know, there's a lot of decisions to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the look, and then I will be back and show you guys what I came up with. Okay, so this is the look that we're going with. Kind of like a faux cut crease, sort of, kind of. It actually wasn't even really supposed to be that way, but we're rolling with it. I don't know, I just kind of looked at these colors and I was like, I don't really want to do like a full cut crease. I want to do something kind of like blown out and like smoky, but like really shimmery at the same time. So this is kind of, I don't know, not bad. It's like, it reminds me of like just like warmth and like fire and just like smoky and like bronzy and beautiful. I don't know, I love it. It's very fall. But yeah, this is the look that we ended up with. I'll show you guys how I got this. Actually, kind of stoked off of this a little bit, like, I'm not gonna lie. So I haven't decided if I want to do like lashes or anything. I honestly don't think I'm going to, but we'll see what I end up doing with that. So the first shade that we're gonna go into is this Grand Canyon shade. So this one right here. This isn't normally the brush I like using for this, but I just used that one in the other look, and I don't want to like accidentally mix the colors or anything. So I just cleaned all my brushes recently too, so I just realized though, like, I know I have a lot of brushes, but I really don't feel like I have enough. Like, with the amount of filming that I do and the amount of different looks that I've done recently, especially for like single videos, doing like 3 looks for each or something like that, like, it just feels like I just don't have enough. Like, at least eye brushes. Face brushes are totally different, but could always use more eye brushes. Always. Plus, some of the ones that I have are like kind of old, you know? Like, I've had this Morphe set, like, I got it like, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, like maybe even more than that. I do have quite a few brushes that could probably use retiring. Like I'm ready. I want to retire. I want to move to Hawaii. And by Hawaii, I mean get recycled. But you know. Okay, so I think that, ooh, let's do a little bit more in here. So I think that looks pretty decent. Then I'm going to dip in with the same brush into this pyramid shade. So this shade right here. Just to deepen everything up a little bit. I almost forgot like how much I love that like orange brown combo. Like, it is just, it's a classic. So from there we're gonna go into this fade shade. Let me get a different brush though. Good thing I wasn't wearing the white shirt. Okay, so we're gonna go into this fade shade. The fade shade. Okay, so from here, let me make sure that I have enough. Okay, cool, so it's deep enough in here. I'm gonna smudge this out a little bit. And I'm just gonna take whatever was left in here. Actually, I'm gonna dip into Grand Canyon a little bit and just kind of pat that right in here. Okay, so from here I'm gonna take this eyeshadow primer by NYX, and I have like shadow on it though, so I'm trying to like get that off the wand. Okay, so I have this Proof It eyeshadow primer by NYX. Honestly like my favorite one, but I've been so into using concealer as like my eyeshadow base that I don't use it quite as much. I probably should go back to using it though, because look at these shimmers. They look better than the last one. So that's kind of the reason why I use this. So okay, so from here we're just kind of using the wand where you would kind of do your cut crease, maybe just not as dramatic and as much. Gonna give that a couple seconds, and then we're gonna start going into the shimmer shades. And I wanted to see if the shimmer shades would be different. Obviously they're two different palettes, so they just could be different in general, but from my experience using the last palette and not being super happy about the shimmers, I wanted to change things up just in case. So I'm not sure if these would end up performing the same way as the other ones did had I used like the same technique. I always think of SpongeBob when I say certain things. Anyways, but so far these shimmers are applying really, really nicely. So if I do other videos using these palettes, I'm definitely going to use this technique with the other palette to see if the shimmers pop any better or easier to work with this versus how they performed last time. So I'm just going to take this Golden Hour shade, so the one right here, and then I'm applying it with my finger at first, but like look at how smooth this is applying versus, and like how pigmented this looks versus the other palette. Like it's crazy the difference. Like yeah, it does make my eye look a little textured. This is actually coming out more of like a foily shade, but what a difference. Like oh my god. So much easier to work with. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the other shimmer shade. This one is in the shade Gleam, so this one right here. There we go. And again, just applying it with my finger, tapping it into the other shade, and then bringing it out. Not all the way to the corner of my eye, but ooh. I'm gonna take my other finger and apply it this way, but really molding those shades together. Gives it a nice like kind of fiery effect. Okay, and then from here I'm gonna use the another shimmer shade, and this shade is in Serengeti. Not that it's in Serengeti, but you know. So we're gonna use this shade here. I am gonna use a brush for this one, and we're just gonna tap that into the other shade and kind of into the inner corner. Okay, so I'm going to just dip back into Grand Canyon a little bit, tap those two together, and then from here I'm going to take a Luxie brush and dip in my favorite Luxie brush, the 243 brush, and I'm taking, I don't remember what shade I just grabbed, sorry, hold on. Okay, Pyramid, and then just kind of defining that shape like I would if I actually did a cut crease. And then, let's see. So, the next thing, we're going to use the shades that we used in the beginning. So, going back into Grand Canyon, that's gonna be our under eye shade. Okay, and then from there, I'm gonna go into that fade shade and kind of focus that in outer corner waterline area. And then let's see, there's the brush I was looking for. Okay, so I totally tried to use that Horizon shade as my inner corner highlight and it didn't work. I just didn't like the way that it looked, so I decided to use this Sun shade. So this shade right here, that's gonna be the inner corner highlight, and also gonna put a little bit of it the brow bone area. This shade did take a second to kind of build up, but overall I think it looks really nice. And then whatever is left, just put that down here. I also use a little bit of Serengeti and kind of like deepened it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a couple finishing touches. I might try to like build up the shimmers a little bit more and get a little more definition in here. Other than that, this look is pretty much done. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my face and then I'll show you guys what everything looks like. Overall, I'm actually kind of happy about this look. Like, it is a little more on the simple side, but not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up the rest of my face and I'll show you guys what we got. Alright, so this is the finished look. Okay, so this is it. Overall, this doesn't look too bad actually. Like, I actually kind of like this. So yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit more easy than the other look, a little more simple, I guess you could say, but overall I think this looks really pretty. It's very warm but like kind of smoky at the same time, which is really pretty. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into like how I feel about this palette so far. We already talked about the other one, but basically this one is like the other one but even better. Like, I felt like the shimmers were super pretty. They were really easy to work with. I do see some sort of texture on my eye a little bit, but other than that, it's nothing too bad. I mean, these shimmers right now, they just look super foiled. Like, they look gorgeous. The mattes were really easy to work with. I don't have any complaints with that. I didn't use all of the shades in the palette, but I did use a good majority of them. I think I used like about half of them. But yeah, I just take a second to look at how beautiful this color story is. Like, it's actually gorgeous. Amazing. You know? Like, look at how beautiful that is. I'm just gonna keep staring at it, you know? But yeah, I felt like it was really easy to work with. It's super pretty. I love the color story in this palette. I'm so excited to keep using it. I feel like you can do so many different fun looks. You can do something a little more neutral, kind of like this. You can do stuff with more color. It's just a gorgeous palette. And like, I knew I was going to love this color story, but I really I adore this color story. It's so pretty. The other palette, I kind of want to try using the shimmers with this eyeshadow primer instead, and I'm hoping that once I use that, then I'll also really love this palette too. It's definitely not a bad palette. All of the matte shades were gorgeous, but the shimmers just weren't doing it for me. So I'm hoping maybe if I try it with the eyeshadow primer, like this one, the NYX one, that I'll like it more. But overall, I'm super excited to keep working with both of these. This one so far is my favorite because I'm just gonna show you guys one more time. Like, it's stunning. Literally it is, and everything worked really nicely, exactly like I would expect an Ace palette to perform. This one, the other one, I'm gonna work with it more. I have a feeling that I might like these shimmers after I use that eyeshadow primer. I'm actually gonna do a quick test on the back of my hand. So I'm gonna do it with and then without the eyeshadow primer. Okay, so the top one is without, the bottom one is with. Honestly, I don't really see too much of a difference, but it is the back of my hand. So we'll see if it actually ends up helping it or not. But overall, both palettes are really pretty in their own respects. I don't know if respects is. Both palettes are both like really pretty. Overall, both palettes are like unique. Overall, I like both palettes, but the Scarlet Dusk one just isn't quite there for me yet because I would want the palette to be like almost 100%, and I feel like since the shimmers just really are just like not the best, that I can't fully say that I love this palette. I want to. I'm excited to work with it, and you know, if I don't end up liking the shimmers in this palette even after trying different techniques, then at least I have the mattes that are still really pretty. But this one, the Vintage Dawn palette, is where it's at so far. Like, it's so fun, it's so beautiful. I'm loving the shimmers and the mattes and everything, and just this one more time. Like, let's just look at it one more time. Yeah, so I'm loving this palette so far. No complaints whatsoever. This one, I'm just going to have to keep working with it and go from there. But overall, it's not a bad palette. The mattes in here they're gorgeous. So anyways, so I don't keep repeating myself because we know I love doing that. If you guys liked this video, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.